All right, are we ready? You are on Bitcoin Explained Simply, the show. This is episode 2. If you haven't seen episode 1 yet, that is what is money. And it has important key concepts that we must understand before we go to episode 2, what is Bitcoin. Now, why is there a big notebook in front of the screen? Because I thought it would be easier if I drew for you, just like we did in kindergarten, how easy it is to learn and understand Bitcoin. So let's begin. First of all, Bitcoin has 4 aspects. I'm writing with a red pen because feng shui in the East has a color code where red is actually a number for prosperity. It's very lucky or prosperous. So red is a good number, a good color to write with. Now, when I was a financial advisor at American Express, red was not the color we would write with ever in financial services or anywhere in finances. Yet this is a spirituality and money channel, so we're using red today. Bitcoin has 4 aspects. It is a network. It is a technology. And as we go through this entire show, I am going to show you different aspects of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an asset, and Bitcoin for me and for some people is a currency, not for others. So when you try to understand Bitcoin, there's not one thing Bitcoin is. You must understand that there are as many ways of looking at Bitcoin probably as there are people on the planet. So in order not to get into any confusion, we just right away say that Bitcoin is 4 different things. Bitcoin is a network, Bitcoin is a technology, Bitcoin is an asset, and Bitcoin is currency. And as we go through this, we are going to help you understand that all of these play a factor in understanding what Bitcoin is. Now, number 2. Here's a simple understanding of what Bitcoin is. Here is Joe. Yes, I'm making this as simple as when we were in school, and my drawing is very bad. And Joe has 2 Bitcoin, just 2 coins. Here's Susie, and Susie has no Bitcoin. Joe pushes one of his Bitcoin to Susie. Well, what do they now both have? Joe has 1 Bitcoin and Susie has 1 Bitcoin. That was super simple, and it was very easy. You didn't need a calculator to do this math, nor did you need a computer. So Bitcoin, its very core essence, is just one person here with value, and they can push it to another person anywhere in the world, across state lines, across countries, across currencies, across languages. They can push it to anyone anywhere in the world that has access to the computer, to the internet. So she's on the internet, he's on the internet. This is internet money. You just push it from one place to the other. Now, there's nothing confusing about that so far. Very easy, very simple. Well, what happens if you have this person over here doing it, and 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 they're all sending money back and forth? You can see that you cannot keep up with all this just with a simple piece of paper. Now, one transaction, well, we can do that. We can do that math. 2 minus 1 equals 1. However, if you have many hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and as we have as of today, we have about 150 million people on Bitcoin. And if they're all transacting back and forth, you can understand that we can't keep up with this with a pen and paper. So what do? We have big computers. And what are the computers doing? They're doing what's called hash. What is hash? Math. That's all hash is. This person had this much Bitcoin. They sent this much Bitcoin to this person. Now this person has this much, and that person has that much. And what do? We put all of that inside a block. So a block has in it transactions. That's all. So we put all the transactions, everything that happened, and we put all those transactions, we stuff them in this box or a block. And all that happened is the computers They just did all the math. This is very easy, isn't it? This is Bitcoin explained simply. So now we put all of it in a block. And it has all these transactions in it. Let's say it has 20,000 transactions in this particular block. Well, a new block comes every 10 minutes. So they keep updating the ledger. And let's say this block has 100,000 transactions in it. They keep updating the ledger every 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. That's the heartbeat of Bitcoin. Every 10 minutes, we have a new block. So it is very easy to understand why they call it a blockchain. It's just a chain of blocks. This is all very simple. And if you already know all this, please, I don't mean to oversimplify or make things or dumb this down. This is Bitcoin explained simply so that we get all the key concepts in a very simple way. Well, we have a long chain of blocks. And these chain of blocks creates a new one every 10 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 10 minutes. Now let's go back to our drawing of these transactions. As you can see on this paper, everything on the Bitcoin blockchain is open. So you can see this person here, and you can see what's in their wallet, 25 coins. You can see what's in this person's wallet, this many coins. You can see what's in this person's wallet, this many coins. Well, what prevents you if you can see everything? It's open, it's transparent, it's public. What would just stop somebody from just going here and taking someone's coins? Well, for that, we would have to go to keys. So we have two kinds of keys. We have a public key and we have a private key. So without getting real complicated in how we come up with these keys, the public key is like the address to your house. Now, if you're having a big party, you tell somebody where to come to your house. You live at 123 Main Street. When they get to your house, they can't just come in. They can't, if you have a gated house, they can't come in without the code to the gate. They can't walk into your house without you unlocking the door. They can't get back past the security. That is the private keys. So we would say that the public keys, these two keys that you have in your Bitcoin wallet, the public key is simply the address. So let's go back to our example here. Susie got some money from Joe. How did that happen? Well, that happened because Susie gave Joe the address. And all he did was send it to her address. And it landed right here. That is called a public key. Just your address. Easy, easy, easy. Now, once you have it in your wallet, no one can get access to it without your private keys. So, going back to your house, people can come to your house. They have your address. Your address is public. It's listed on a map. It's listed on Google Maps. It's listed at the courthouse. Yet they can't get in your house just because they know where it is. So just because we know where the money is on Bitcoin doesn't mean you can get it. You can't get it. It's extremely secure. So that is understanding, first of all, let's recap what we have so far. So far, we see that Bitcoin is a push technology. It's not like Visa. Visa is a pull technology. They pull the money out of your bank account. Bitcoin is only push. So because Bitcoin is only push, that means that you can't get it back. If you push it to this person, that is it, done forever in the day. Unless they decide to push it back to you, you cannot get it back. So we understand that part. We also understand that it is an open network. Everybody can see what's going on. We also understand that all these transactions that are happening, they are being calculated by computers. They're hashing, they're doing the math, and they're putting all the transactions on what we would call a ledger, right? It's just a big ledger. And I call this ledger what had happened was, because that's really all they're showing you. What had happened was, and each 10 minutes you get another block. They close up the block. So this is very, very easy to understand so far. And we also understand that we have. So now you know what Bitcoin is, you know what the transactions are, you know what hash is, you know the push nature of Bitcoin, you understand transactions are going to into each block, you understand that a new block is created every 10 minutes, roughly. You also understand what the word blockchain means, just a chain of blocks. You also understand how everybody can see everything that everyone has, but you can't get it, can't access it unless it belongs to you. So I want to show you another aspect of Bitcoin. So this is a ledger. So anyone can go back here and see exactly what happened here. And anyone can go here and read all the transactions. Joe sent Susie $10. John sent Joe $1 worth of Bitcoin. This one said this one, this, da, da, da. You can read it. It's open. Now, why is this important to humanity? Well, the most important thing you want to understand about Bitcoin in this conversation is that it is open, permissionless, borderless, consensus network that acts as a network. It is a technology, it is an asset, and it's also a currency. Now let's go further. What is Bitcoin? Now, because we have all these people all over the world that have Bitcoin, and because we have people who have what's called Bitcoin nodes. What is a node? A node is just a computer that has a copy of this whole thing on it. It's a computer that is keeping up with all of the entire ledger. So you can run a node. Anyone can run a node. All you do is get some computer software. You get a Raspberry Pi, or you can look it up, and we'll talk about that later in episodes. But right now, you don't need to know exactly how to run a node because you're just learning what Bitcoin is. So this is what it looks like. And this is all over the world. So this is Asia and Europe and Africa and Kenya and Bali and Peru. I travel all over the world, and just Bitcoin is everywhere I go. I've been to Dubai and India and China and Hong Kong and Singapore. And it's in all these places. Well, if Bitcoin nodes, these little computers that people themselves choose to run what's called a node, they have an entire copy of the whole blockchain. When they're running these nodes, what are they doing? They are verifying that the math is right, because Bitcoin runs on a set of rules. We call them the consensus rules. That's part of Bitcoin as a technology. Now, here you see the network. Yes? Well, the network, what are all these nodes doing? They are ensuring that these transactions that happen every 10 minutes that the computers calculated, they're making sure that this is all done properly. They are what they're calling verifying. So in Bitcoin, you hear us say this a lot. Verify, don't trust. You hear us say that all the time. You hear Bitcoiners say that all the time, because Bitcoin is what we call trustless. You do not need trust in the Bitcoin system. Now, why is that? Well, here's why. Before, in the old legacy system, when I was a financial advisor at American Express, you had this person here and this person here. If you want to get value from this person to this person, and they lived in two different places, the only way you could do it is with some kind of institution in the middle. We call this a trusted third party. So what is this trusted third party? They are what we call a fiduciary. So I was a fiduciary when I was a financial advisor. What does that mean? That you're going to put your money, you're going to give this money to the fiduciary, right? And the fiduciary is going to give it to this person. So let's give you an example. If this person is in New York, and this person is in California, and you have cash in your hands, this person has $1,000 cash they want to give to this person in California. How are they going to do that? without a trusted third party? Are they going to go down to Penn Station in New York, where the trains are leaving, and find an Amtrak train and ask someone, find the Amtrak train that's going cross country from New York to Los Angeles, and ask the person, the most honest, kind, nicest person you see, maybe an old grandma or something like that. Hey, grandma, would you give this $1,000 to my friend over here? No one would do that. Why? Because you need trust. You need to be able to trust that they will get the money to the other person. You don't trust them. You haven't met them. You don't even know them. And this granny could be nice, but she could be a bank robber. So we needed a trusted third party in the middle so that you could give your money to them. We could call this PayPal. We could call this Western Union. We could call this MoneyGram. We could call this the bank. Many, many, many fiduciaries. This is the trusted third party. We have to have trust with this system. This system, Bitcoin, trustless. We don't need trust. Why? Because we have math. And why not? Because we can verify. You have the address. You push the money straight there. You don't need any trust. It's going over the internet. It's just flying straight to her. Shoom. So let's go back to our trusted third party. PayPal, Western Union, MoneyGram, the bank. Well, because this trusted third party is in the middle, what is going to be the problem here? The problem is going to be that they are going to do some rent. They get these rent-seeking, these bad habits, let's call it. Why? Because they're collecting rents, because they're just sitting there in between two people. So this rent-seeking thing is a problem because it's high fees. Western Union, MoneyGram, 10%. PayPal, some kind of percentage. Your bank, some kind of percentage to do wire transfers. And, of course, ACH and all these other things that they do for you. Just moving value back and forth, back and forth. Well, we don't need this trusted third party anymore. And you don't need to go down to the train station and find somebody who can carry this cash over to your friend. Or if you're in Belgium and your friend is in Nigeria, you don't have to try to figure out how you're going to get this cash to them. You just send it through Bitcoin, through the network. I think that's pretty understandable. Now let's talk about mining. This is very easy. I think everything that we have talked about thus far is extremely simple because I have to stay true to what I promised you in this series. In this series, you are getting Bitcoin explained simply, and we cannot get any simpler than stick figures on a piece of paper. Okay? And I love technology, but I'm not a big, huge tech gal. I'm more of a, I'm more of a high level overview gal, and then I break things down step by step into bite-sized pieces that I can understand. That could be just how my Libra mind works. Now, let's talk a little bit about mining. So let's go back to these transactions in these 10 minutes so that we can understand how are new Bitcoin born? Like, you can't understand how are you getting new Bitcoins out of this? Because what we do know is that there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin ever. That is it. Hard stop. The fat lady has sung. The deal is over. There will not even be enough Bitcoin on the planet for every, I think there's 422 millionaires on the planet. There is not even enough Bitcoin for every millionaire on the planet to have. No, there's got to be more than 422 millionaires on the planet. That sounds like a very small number. I'll check my figures. There's not even enough for every millionaire on the planet to have even one Bitcoin. So you can see that this extreme small number right away is going to mean extreme high value. It's just as simple math, it's simple economics, right? Supply and demand. Well, if there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin, how is everybody in the world being? If 21 million people all had one each, where does that leave the rest of the world? Well, the beauty of it is that one Bitcoin can be divided, it's divisible. One Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million pieces. Is this 100 million? I think I need to add more zeros. This would be 100,000. Yeah, 100 million. So one Bitcoin can be broken up into, if you look at one Bitcoin, you can just divide it into 100 million slices. Okay? Just the same as one US dollar, if you're in the United States, is divisible into 100 pieces, and we call each one of those a penny. Well, when you take one Bitcoin and you divide it into 100 million pieces, one of those pieces is called a Satoshi. So what do you hear us call, or we call it sats, a sat, S-A-T. So when you hear us talking about stacking sats, that's what we're talking about. We're just buying more Bitcoin, buying more Bitcoin, buying more Bitcoin. Now, as a side note, you could be a Satoshi millionaire for whatever is just 10% of actually 1% of the Bitcoin price. So right now the Bitcoin price is about $33,000, which means you could be a Satoshi millionaire for $330. You could buy 1 million Satoshis for $330. Okay? That would make you a Satoshi millionaire, which is nice. Now, because we have 21 million Bitcoin, hard stop, no more, ever, it is extremely finite. That means the price could go up exponentially. There is no limit on how high the price can go. And if you, by comparison, you look at some of these shit coins, they're just making more shit coins in some of these systems, or some of them have hundreds of millions of coins, or we don't know, they just airdrop more coins whenever they feel like it. That's why you see a huge difference with Bitcoin. So 21 million. So how are new Bitcoin being produced? Through the mining operations. So what is mining? Mining are those who secure the network by doing the math. This one sent this here, this one sent that there, this one now has this, that one now has that. They did all the math. Well, when you do the math and you're the first one to solve the math equation of what happened and where all the money is now, and you put it on the ledger, you are going to get a reward. You get a reward. Now, rewards are continually decreasing, which is beautiful. Why? Because the first 4 years, every 4 years, we have a block reward halving. The block reward is cut in half. So you hear people talking about the halving, the halving, the halving. That's what that means. Well, the first person to solve the problem with their big mining operations, they have all these computers. They're like, "Ow, we solved the problem." And of course, everybody's going to verify it. We don't just believe that they solved the problem, because all of the nodes are going to make sure, right? And it's like, oh yeah, they solved the problem. Here is the current state of the ledger. They were the one that solved this block. So this block was solved by XYZ miner. Well, because they solved it first with their big computers, they get a reward. Now, when Bitcoin first started back in 2009, the block reward was 50 Bitcoin. Cha-ching! 10 minutes, you solve the problem, you get 50 Bitcoin. Now, back then, 2009, Bitcoin didn't have any need for a lot of big computers to solve the problem, because there wasn't a lot of people on Bitcoin. You probably could have done it on a calculator by yourself. And then after a while, you needed just a regular home computer. You could figure it out. But now, so many people are on Bitcoin, we need big, huge computers running all the time to secure the Bitcoin network. Well, 2013, we had another halving. That means every 10 minutes when you solve the block, you get 25 Bitcoin. 2017, we had another halving. That means that now it goes down to 12.5 5 Bitcoin, then 2021. When did we have the last halving? So, no, 2020. So here we have the 2020 halving. Basically, it's every 4 years. Okay, you can look up the math, and you can look at all the dates of the halvings for Bitcoin, so you can see what's happening here. We're getting less and less and less Bitcoin spitting out. So what does that look like? It looks like this. In the very beginning, we had a whole, if this is time, let's make a time supply axis. If this is time, right, from 2009 to 2020, and this is Bitcoin supply, this is what's happening. Whoa. Whoa. Can you see why Bitcoin is going crazy? Super high, super high? Because the supply, the new fresh supply, is getting tinier and tinier and tinier. It's getting scarcer and scarcer and scarcer by the moment. That's why you need to bust a move before the next halving, which will be 2024. Oh yeah, the last halving was 2020. Thank you. The next halving will be 2024. It's all coming back to me, all the exact numbers. The next halving is in 2024, which there will be another huge Bitcoin boom. Usually about 15 to 18 months before the boom, before the halving, there is a low, and 15 to 18 months after the halving, there is a high in the Bitcoin price as it is denominated in US dollars. Okay? So you can do some very interesting math there, and you can figure out when some really big things will happen in Bitcoin. And I would say that September, October of 2021, something very big is going to happen with Bitcoin. If you want to get the exact details of this, get my masterclass, How to Be a Bitcoin Millionaire by 2024, because this has an exact, it has the numbers, it has the amounts, it has the strategy, it has everything. Get it? ValerieLove.com/Bitcoin. The link is below. How to Be a Bitcoin Millionaire by 2024. And I lay out this entire strategy for you. Okay, so now you know how new Bitcoin are born. You know a lot about Bitcoin now. And trust me, we're going to layer more and more and more and more on this as we go through the whole course. This is not a course, as we go through this show. Bitcoin explained simply. So what do you know now? Let's recap. I'm a teacher. Whoa, pardon me. My iPad kind of moved on me there for a second. Apologies. So what do you know now? You know that Bitcoin is a network. We'll talk more about that coming up. You see, this is building block information. We're just building the blocks. We're in the very preliminary stages. Bitcoin as a technology, Bitcoin as an asset, Bitcoin as a currency. You also know that it is a push technology. You also understand about transactions. You also understand private keys and public keys. You also understand that Bitcoin is a ledger. You also understand that it is open. You also understand that it has a heartbeat every 10 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 10 minutes. You also understand that Bitcoin is a trustless network that works over the internet. It is across borders. It doesn't need any borders or any trusted third party. Also understand that there are nodes all over the world. Also, you've learned that there are no need for trusted third parties. We can get rid of all of that and all of these bad habits of rent seeking and more. We have a little tropical storm here in Miami where I am currently. That's why it looks like the power went out again. It came on before and it went out again. And that is why we are getting rid of these third parties, because we don't need them, right? Well, I'm not saying that we're going to get rid of all the trusted third parties all over the world, because there may be some application for them. What I am saying is that we no longer are beholden to them. We no longer have to use them. We now have alternatives. Okay? Next, you also know that the 21 million hard cap on Bitcoin will never change. That's already built into the protocol. Pardon me. And you also know that there are 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin. So there's plenty Bitcoin for everyone to have some, but you better buy some anyway. Don't play. You also understand now how new Bitcoin are born. New Bitcoin are born every 10 minutes with whoever first solved the Bitcoin math equation. It's open to everyone. I'll end it with this. How did Bitcoin start? Well, it started in 2009. And basically, you can go and you can look up the white paper. I think it's bitcoin.org, but you can look up the white paper. The white paper is just a technological way of saying, hey, this is the idea. So who wrote the idea? Satoshi Nakamoto, who is not a real person. It could be a he, she, or a they. And there have been so many people have just been, I remember they were just hounding this particular Japanese man on television. Are you Satoshi? Are you Satoshi? There's a lot of Satoshi Nakamotos in the world. Satoshi Nakamoto doesn't want to be seen, doesn't want to be known. He dropped off the face of the earth pretty much. So Satoshi Nakamoto could be a person. It could be a group of people. And I do want to let you know that cypherpunks have been working on cyber money for 20 years. Bitcoin is not the newest one. It's the one that worked. Because every time they did it, it had problems. It had certain problems. It had a double spend problem and it couldn't be solved, we thought, until it was solved by Satoshi Nakamoto. More on that later. So in 2009 or 2008, the white paper was dropped right at the time of the big conflama brouhaha we were having in the U.S. markets. Back then, I was no longer a financial planner back then, which I'm very glad at. I was a financial planner in the late 90s and early 2000s when we had the bull run in the tech market, in the tech sector. Now, because this 2008, he wrote the white paper, and the white paper was released in October, actually on October 31st, on Halloween of 2008. And the Genesis block, which means the very first block, remember we talked about a block, the blocks in the blockchain? Well, block number one, let's go to block number one. Block number one is called the Genesis block because that's the very first one. So it makes sense for it to have that name, the Genesis block. Oh, look, power came back on. And so Satoshi Nakamoto was mining it, and out was popping 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, until, of course, years went by, and then we had a halving, and then it was only 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Then there was only 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And now, after the last halving right here, we are at only 6.25 new baby Bitcoin spit out every 10 minutes. Okay? Well, there's my chimes. There's my time. That is the primer on understanding what is Bitcoin. Now, this is just going to give you a foundation. It gives you a few key terms. And next, we're going to deep dive into very specific concepts. The next very specific concept we're going to deep dive into is called decentralization, so that you can understand that. Decentralized, I can't even spell that. Let me spell it. Decentralized. That is tomorrow's the next episode. Episode 3 is on decentralization. And then episode 4 is on consensus. Because these are key concepts that you must understand so that you become a Bitcoiner. Now, I want to draw one last thing for you. And thank you for being with me in this episode. I love it. We'll do lots of different kinds of learning because there are lots of different kinds of people and everyone learns differently. I'm going to continually bring you back to this distinction. This is a Bitcoiner. That's me. And I pray that's you. This is a Bitcoin investor. I want you to understand these two things are very different. I'm not here for you to become a Bitcoin investor, though you may start there. I'm here for you to become a Bitcoiner, for you to understand this technology, the power that it has to change the world, and to change the world with me. Let's do it. I love you. ValerieLove.com/Bitcoin.